Good day and welcome to this training video on the 3D Real-Time title by Primal Pictures. 3D Real-Time is a gross 3D atlas of human anatomy where you have a huge amount of flexibility and freedom with how you view the anatomy on the 3D models and how you can manipulate and engage with this anatomy. You'll understand more once we jump into it, but I do just want to highlight that there are apps available for download if you use these links. If you download an app for a region of the body, then you will be able to use all of this content offline, no matter where you are on your phone. Over here, I've opened up the thorax region, and I'm just going to minimize that menu option, and let's firstly orientate ourselves. On the left-hand side is our menu bar. In the middle, we have our main viewing pane or our interaction pane. And on the right-hand side, we have a list of structures. I'm going to start off with showing you how you can build your own 3D model and interact with it, virtually dissect it. And then after that, we will move to what else is in the menu on the left. So let's start with clearing our field. Now with this list of structures, if I click on a group name of structures like the heart, you will see that all of the structures from that grouping will be added. But if you click the arrow next to the group name and you maximize the list of structures, you'll see that you can add in individual structures or even parts of structures in isolation. So there I've just added all of the components of my thoracic aorta. And now let's add in a few veins like the inferior vena cava, the superior vena cava, and our pulmonary veins. Okay, so now I'm happy with the model that I have created. To zoom in, you will use the scroll bar on your mouse. And if you would like to move where the model is on your screen, you will right click and drag your mouse to where you want the model to be. Then you can rotate the model by clicking down and swiping along your screen. And with this, you can view the anatomy from absolutely any angle. Or you can use this nice box in the top left-hand corner to get preset straight views. With this model, you may have already noticed that we have the roll over labels for every visible structure. And if you click on a structure, it will be highlighted and the name presented to you at the top of your screen. Now let's take a look at some of these inspection and dissection tools at the bottom. So if we click the context button, you will see the selected structure, in this case the right ventricle, with its relevant anatomical context. The inspect button will isolate just that structure and allow you to investigate it in more detail. Then if you examine a structure, everything else will be turned into X-ray mode and just your selected structure will remain opaque. And this is really great for understanding the relational anatomy of structures. And then conversely, if we ghost a structure, that structure will be turned into X-ray mode and now everything else has remained opaque. And here, for example, when we ghost out the right ventricle, we can now see this inner lying anatomy or the tricuspid valve and its papillary muscles, helping it prevent the backflow of blood between our right atrium and ventricle. And then we can take this one step further by selecting it again and hiding it, or in other words, virtually dissecting the structures away. Okay, but that is how you can create your own model and interact with it and perform a virtual dissection. So now let's hop back over to the menu bar to see what else is here. Firstly, we have the text box. And this will give you the relevant anatomical information about any structure as you click on it. So this means you can learn more about the anatomy with this explanatory text while you explore the structures. Next in our menu at the window frame icon is where we can find dissection images and some pre-made models. What's lovely about the dissection images is that when you open them up, they will be projected next to a 3D model that mirrors the dissection image. Now, I'm very traditional in that I believe dissection content is very, very important in the learning process to get a realistic view of the cadaveric or the patient anatomy. And we can make this image either half page or full page or quarter page where it started. But this half page option is really lovely because your image is now on a similar scale to the 3D model that is mirroring this dissection image, and that is really helpful for interpreting the cadaveric anatomy and understanding what you're seeing here. After that, we have the pre-made models, and I would always recommend having a look at what's available to you here before you sit and create your own 3D model. Because here, for example, is a 3D model very similar to the one that I sat and created, and I could have saved some time by pulling this one up rather. Next in our menu is the favorite button, where you can favorite any content you are looking at or have created to easily revisit at a later stage. In the settings section, there are a range of different settings that I would recommend you go and play around with, but there is one very important one that I want to highlight, and that's the cadaver color setting. So right now, with this traditional color-coded setting we have in front of us, it's a lot easier to tell the difference between an artery, vein, and nerve according to the color. But unfortunately, our patients and cadavers aren't color-coded. So if we switch on this cadaver color setting, it's going to force us to think more critically between the difference in these vessels according to their anatomy rather than the color coding. Then after that, we have a range of labeling, pinning, and drawing tools. So for example, you can add a label into a structure, you could add a pin. At any stage, you can alter this text. So let's say, for example, name the structure. You can also add in a freestanding text box and type in whatever information you want. And then with the drawing tools, you can now point out certain structures, for example. This is really lovely for creating custom labeled diagrams to insert into your study notes, for example. And if I'm now ready to save this absolutely perfect image I've created in front of me, I can do so with the camera icon. So let's just call this video test. Okay. And you will see it will now ask me if I want to download this image. I will confirm. I've done it twice. And here we now have my image that I can do with what I please. Okay. Now after the snapshot image in the menu, you have a share link option where you can share a link to anything you are viewing by giving it a name and then copying the link to your clipboard. And lastly, at the bottom, these arrows you can simply use to rotate the model and move it around if you don't want to use your mouse for some reason, but I would strongly recommend rather using your mouse. And that brings us to the end of 3D Real Time. I really hope that this was helpful to you, and I wish you all of the best with your future adventures in Primal Pictures.